Well, my dear Bulas and Barras, it is that day after Armageddon, and we're still alive, so that's actually pretty damn good. Anyways, it's actually just around 7 a.m. my time in Helsinki, Finland, and still the results are kind of to be determined, I suppose, but the markets are definitely moving in the meantime, so it is quite a surprise to kind of be waking up to all of this action and perhaps even a little bit of destruction going on. And with that said, I'd like to wish you the best, and the happiest of the happiest, and as these results come in, I feel like it's one of those times to reflect upon the greatest fact of them all. We're all fucking humans, so no matter who wins, hopefully everyone just have a fucking good day, no matter what. So with that in mind, let's put the focus over here in the Krown application, which you found at app.crowngenie.net. And what do we see different from yesterday? Open interest still kind of awesome within that same range. We have seen a range essentially established between about 2.2 billion to about 2.5 billion or 2.5 billion essentially. To the upside, and that correlates to the price action range thus far as about $13,000 low to about $14,000 high. Of course, it's not exactly like that. When we get into the actual charts, we'll kind of nail it down a bit more. But with that in mind, we actually do start to see something established within this region, which is actually quite helpful. Anyways, looking at the Bitcoin dominance, what do we see? It's still kind of hanging around that 64 and some odd percent region. Still rising overall, and as Bitcoin kind of has its own dramas, it mostly just hurts alt on the whole, and that's kind of what we've been saying for a long time. And as I've been saying, I do think that most alts going to be going for the full retrace versus their Satoshi pairings, and a lot of them probably going to be even making some new all-time lows probably over the next 6 months to a year, if I had to guess. And with that in mind, let's actually go into the data tab. I want to see if there's any parrots in this coal mine this morning. Are they barking off and giving all sorts of signals? And whoa, we actually do see something a little bit out of the ordinary right there. FTX posting 0.06% funny rate right now. A little bit on the higher side, yes, but still not in the critical zone. It becomes a greater consideration above 0.1 or below negative 0.1. And as we can see right here, everything else is pretty much more or less balanced. Bybit, BitMEX, Huobi, and Binance all posting about just regular 0.01%, which is essentially at par for the course. So not much to make out of that, but our first sort of initial etching saying that something a little bit more strange might be going on right here. Anyways, with that in mind, seeing as those pairs don't have too much else to say, or actually before we do that, maybe we do check out on this. No, nothing to really be spoken about right there either. Yeah, let's go into the actual price action charts themselves. And hey, get out of my face, sir. This is what happens when you are running TradingView on like multiple different devices all the fucking time. And let's start off with the lower term timeframes today, or should we start off with the lower term timeframes today? Well, we should start off with the lower term timeframes today because yesterday I didn't say all that much. My main message yesterday was I am not fucking trading and I do not trust this chart. And what I was saying is actually was looking for a little bit of short-term upside plus downside on top of that, probably into this blue box right here at about 13,650-ish region. And of course, Krown, wrong AF, so kill him, hang him, and burn him on fire. He sucks. Anyways, no, of course, this is why I do go, well, I mean, maybe not of course, but this is why I do go over, areas to kind of manage upon and pivot points on the market where things actually do change. And obviously closing a 4-hour dildo within this region right here, especially above 13.7, that did initiate that next move up to the next blue box territory right here. So at the end of the day, I would have been wrong on that trade if I would have taken it, but I didn't trade yesterday. And but there's a trade on the other side as always. So that is why I typically go with this sort of style. And as it is right now, is Bitcoin putting the big question is Bitcoin putting a local high, or are we going to see continuation? It's very interesting right now because the medium and higher term timeframes are all quite bullish actually. In fact, it's really making me second guess a lot of what I want to say today actually. And I imagine that a lot of this is going to be cleared upon the actual US market open. Probably by then we will have the full results for the election as well. And all the dramas will hopefully just slowly die down peacefully too. Peacefully would be good. But as it is right now, looking at the 12, or actually, no. Let's go back down to lower term timeframes, or should we start off with medium term timeframes? Nah, let's go back down to the lower term timeframes. Let's fix this baby up. So while this liquid zone yesterday was working, yes. And we did get the proper result from that, seeing as we did actually close inside of it and did initiate the next target to the upside. What I would do here, though, is I actually would start to flip it a little bit, mostly because while it is viable and while it does matter, I do think that we could be a little more aggressive on any sort of a breakdown to the south side below about 13.7, especially. Below there, I still do kind of hold on to what I've been saying about a move likely down towards about 12.8 or 12.9 base. And I would be, well, obviously there will be stops along the way. It's the same one that we saw earlier this week, right around 13.3 would be a nice one right there. But for what it's worth right now on the 4-hour, what do we see? We do see potential 4-hour bearish divergence forming at 3 drives going all the way back. Actually, towards this high, and potentially this high that's being put in right now. But of course, this one is not confirmed as a local high. And what would be needed to confirm this one as a local high? Well, any sort of 4-hour delta closure below this blue box right here, 13.7 would certainly do that, and that does naturally line up. So we're seeing all these things kind of work together. Well, I mean, not all these things, just a couple of things right there, but it is good confluence as it is for right now. And technically speaking, that does mean that I should be, I guess, somewhat short-term bullish as long as we are above this region right here. Again, that being especially 13.8 or just not closing a 4-hour delta below 13.7. And technically speaking, should be looking for another swipe onto the upside of this top of this topside blue box at about 14.1 to 14.2 region, of which that can actually extrapolate another move if we do close above this region 14.2 towards our next fib extension, which I believe is a 2 spot. Yeah, it's a 2 spot at 14.850ish region. So that's actually a pretty damn big move right there. And while I actually would remain bullish on Bitcoin long term, and while I actually do think that it will hit that area long term, you know, perhaps like a month or two down the road, short term, does that mean that we just green doodle our way to the heavens? I feel very still naked looking at these charts, mostly because of this whole political situation going on right now. But technically, yes. So fair enough, you know, I guess short term, I do have to be a little bit bullish here, even though I don't really feel like it's warranted. But hey, my feelings are not what I trade off of. And of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but we can go through the old rigmarole and see what she says right now. And yeah, 4-hour Stokes actually are headed nice and erectly to the north side. So good right there. But, you know, like I said, 4-hour bearish divergence can form very, very easily. And that 3 drives is usually what I do look for those nicer plays. And that would at the very least be good enough to get it back down to about 13,350-ish region, at which point I do think Bitcoin would have another bounce similar to what we saw earlier this week on the 2nd and 3rd of November, and then probably extension down towards a 12.8, 12.9 base, of which point I would be looking for Bitcoin to likely put in, you know, perhaps another long-term base there. I'm not bearish on Bitcoin long-term or macro. They are all bullish, but for the short-term and medium-term, could very easily look for a little bit of downside here if those conditions are met. But for right now, they're not, and I do feel, like I said, a little bit naked doing this while the whole political situation is still kind of being decided. In fact, I got my own thingy opened up over here, and apparently, I guess the internet has Biden winning right now over Donald Trump, but a lot of the votes have not been counted just yet, so it seems like that is still to be determined as well. And so what I will do is I will, wrong screen over here, is I will focus back on this one over here. Anyways, there we go. So do we have anything on historical volatility percentile to be aware of? Interesting. We do have a nice spike up around the election time, as you would imagine, but the moving average on this kind of tells a story, as it does actually remain with a negative slope. So to me, this is still within the context of a greater contraction phase, which is why I'm very hesitant to be looking at this as further continuation, like right here, right now. When I say continuation, I mean like above our current height, about 14.1, we'll call it. Above there, then yes, we can talk about moves towards, you know, 14.8 or 14.9, somewhere in and around that region. But for right now, still kind of questionable. Looking at the 3-hour, what do we see here? 3-hour is doing all sorts of weird things too. 3-hour momentum also is showing a little bit of north side action as well, but again, getting a little bit more extended there. 3-hour RSI constructive over a long period of time, as is the 4-hour here too. Playing out the hidden, or actually I didn't even catch that. Oh, nice. Credit to Caretaker on this one. Getting the hidden bullish divergence call right there. Giving you a move all the way from the bottom side to the top side of the short-term range. So nicely done. But again, you know, same sort of issues here too. Would put in a third drive of bearish divergence if it does confirm a local high right here, which is not done just yet. We'll need to close a 3-hour dildo below actually 13.7. Yes, that nice little basing area right there, which does correlate very, very well with that blue box. So I guess I kind of have to say I feel weird about this, but if I'm just going by my rules, which I probably will hold off on trading until at the very least US Open today, is I guess I'd be short-term bullish here, I suppose, looking for another swipe back up towards 14.1 or 14.2, and then we'll see how Bitcoin reacts around that region. If it does start to close above, then I'd extend that run another $600-$700, and we'll talk about that one if and when it does happen. But for right now, I do remain a bit cautious. Historical volatility percentile on the 3-hour, as contrary to the 4-hour, actually is expanding a bit right here. So I do want to see how the 2 and 1 hour are going to be lining up with that, as they typically do kind of break the rubber match. And in this case right here, actually increasing as well. Very, very interesting. Okay, so I guess I do have to be short-term bullish here. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that's the right call. I feel like this is a little bit extended. I feel like things more or less do come back down to the lows out of the range. But my feelings are not tradable. My feelings are, like I said, bullshit before. 2-hour Stokes going to be coming down a bit right here, but this is constructive price action. Completely fine as far as I'm concerned. By hourly RSI, what do we see here? Nothing out of the ordinary. Looks like it does want to play around the bullish control zone, but I'm not getting much out of that. I feel like I'm really grabbing for straws right here. This is not very relatable price action, or sorry, not very relatable indicator action right here. So I think I'll just move on to the next one. Hourly's building as well. I mean, a little bit of a bullish reset here too, as hourly Stokes do come down, and in price action essentially holds the range and even rallies off the low side of the range. I mean, that's fine right there, to be fine, or to be fair. Historical volatility percentile redlining right here probably does go a little bit to a contraction. So we see bifurcation between all the lower term time frames, 1, 2, 3, and 4 hour. So that likely does align with some more ranging action. But in this case, ranging action for the short term is no longer 13,350 to 13,7. It's more so about 13,7 to about 14,1, 14,2. And with that said, I probably would be looking for another test to the top side and probably another test to the bottom side of this, with resolution above or below, of course, these relevant areas. Again, 13.7 to the downside, and about, well, we could even use like 14.150 to the upside. I'd feel comfortable with that one as well. But let's move on to the medium term time frame. See if there's anything there right now as well to kind of help formulate this buys. And again, 12 hour as it is right now. I mean, this one can really go either way. This is the most unhelpful analysis right now. I do apologize, but I do think that it's important to kind of show, well, at least the way that I do things, because in a case like this, when I start to see a lot of things like this, it tells me just don't trade. There's too much competing signals going on right now. But for what it's worth, 12-hour Stokes actually going to be bouncing off the trend line once again. It looks like I really don't trust this. These are typically the reads that you see actually break below. But technically speaking, it is not broken below. And so until we actually come back down and officially test this trend line and presumably break it, which by the way is right at the edge of the bullish control zone as well, technically speaking, I should be looking at this as an efficacious cross. I don't feel that way. Like I said, this typically is the sort of signature that you do see before it actually does crack through. And in this case, that would also be accompanied by a decent, pretty damn good jewel sell signal right here. Now, what may happen if Bitcoin does get another run to the upside is we'll actually see a bounce off the fib right here, and it'll pop back up and then line up for like a true full-on perfect signal. But this one's actually a pretty damn decent one right here. Warning signals were put off end of last week, and so probably within the next week or so, it actually will line up for an actual perfect one. If not, could even be coming from this area right here. So I do remain very hesitant on this. But again, the same sort of actionable point on this one is exactly what we spoke about before, and it's also going to be correlated with a 12-hour bearish divergence here as well between this point, and this point, correlated with this high, and presumably this high if it does formulate a high. But what's going to be needed to confirm this as a local high? Well, obviously right now it's not confirmed as a local high. The only way to confirm this one as a local high is by closing back down below 13.7, or you could even say 13.750 in this blue box territory right here. That would confirm this as a local high, initiate all those bearish divergences. I imagine that would also be good enough to get the 12-hour Stokes to the downside as well, and the jewel probably starts to play out there too. If not, then continuation above this level, I'd be looking for another greater run towards about 14.8ish region, 14.9, and then probably a greater pullback from that region as well. Do we see anything on historical volatility percentile? Yeah, again, looking like it's really full expanded right here, getting all the way into, what is this, a 94? Yeah, sorry, 93 percentile read right there. And usually when it does get this red, it's going to go into a contraction phase from there, just because, well, these are outliers, right? Very rarely do you get above these regions because, I mean, this is operating in percentile fashion, so it's just by the fucking nature of it. And by the way, I should give another shout out to Caretaker for this one. You can grab this indicator for free. It's on the public library. Just type in Caretaker's historical volatility percentile. I think you literally have to type it out like such things, and there you go. You can have it for yourself, and I've been quite enjoying it recently. Anyways, going through it as well. Is there anything else that we want to talk about here? 12-hour RSI. Yeah, like I said, there would be bearish divergence. Obviously, it is kind of playing out the hidden bullish divergence, but I'd say that move's already played out from 13,350 to 14,000. I mean, again, on a hidden divergence call, that's actually quite aggressive for what it's worth. And I imagine that a lot of this, hey, what the fuck's going on right there? That's bizarre. I just realized that my computer's changing all sorts of weird colors. Oh well, doesn't matter. Anyways, oh, and I wonder if you can even see this on the thingy. Probably not. No. Ah, damn, that sucks. One of my good friends actually made a GIF for it too, and it just blows my mind. Anyways, that's what I'm concerned with right now. Not fucking charts, man. I want to see something more tangible for myself to take trades off of. I don't think that this range is for me as it is right now. And the 12-hour, if we do get this if we do get any sort of a 12-hour closure, here's where I can start to say things a little more directly though. If we do get any sort of a 12-hour total closure, especially above 14.1. I'm looking for that move to the upside. Any sort of a 12-hour closure below 13.7. Yeah, looking for another move back down towards 13.3. Probably another bounce there. But very likely continuation would be implied towards our base at about 12.8, 12.9. At which point I would look for a greater base to be formed. So this is going to be actually a naturally good pivot. It's just I think we need another close or two in order to really fully see this one as it is. Looking at the daily, again, daily's bullish here. This is what really starts to throw me for a loop because the lower term timeframes I can certainly see some bearish things in there, can balance everything out, but the 12-hour daily and the higher time frame that we go does turn out to be more and more bullish from what I keep on looking at. So checking out the daily right here, let's see what our momentum also to say as well. Daily Stokes are going to be technically to the upside right here. Again, really fucking extending their stay within the critical zone. Usually a little bit of a warning sign there, but we have seen stints in the past where it does spend quite a fair bit of time, like we do see back in more intense rallies. Now, admittedly, this is late 2017. The end of the end for the last bull market, but there were actually several examples before that in 2016 and 2017, to be fair. So as it is right now, technically, yes, it is up. Could that be enough for another drive to the upside? Could that be enough to get us up to, or get Bitcoin up to about 14.8, 14.9? Yes. So that's kind of what's at stake right now. The way that I look at this price action is we're basically looking at about $1,000 move from where we are right now, either 14.8 to the upside or about 12.8, 12.9 to the downside. And it's all going to be mediated by our current short-term pivot, 13.7 to the downside or about 14.1 to the upside, we'll call it. Anyways, looking at daily RSI, this would be certainly more on the bear side right here. Again, long term, I fucking love the signature. It's a really, 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 really good one. But short term, it's more likely to come down. Yeah, daily RSI would be a little more on that tip as well. But again, it's what I really be looking for here. And I feel like I keep on repeating myself with this, and I keep on kind of like backpedaling on my words. But it's very important because I'm not going to trade this until I get like a full-on obvious signal of which if the daily really starts to kind of curl down and take out today's low tomorrow. So if it actually does reverse from here, it probably doesn't happen until tomorrow. So that's what I actually would say as well. I don't think that there's any major threat of downside like today, any sort of move past even like 13.5 today, although I can probably eat my words on that one too. If there is going to be, if there's going to be move today, it's probably going to be the upside. If Bitcoin quite literally is going to have a move like outside of the short-term range. Anyways, moving on to the 2-day, what do we see here? Again, 2 days bullish as fuck. This is a hard. This is a very. Closing on new highs on a Tuesday is not bearish in any way, shape, or form. And we just came back and filled the last 2-day open almost immediately. And so far, so good. Looking at 2-day stocks now, technically speaking, they have not even officially crossed the downside. Looks like they could very easily do it. There have been a few times in history where we have gotten actually decently higher than this, all the way up to about a 97 read, currently sitting at about a 90.5 to a 91 read. But again, can spend some time in there in more aggressive upside markets. So, we're seeing things, we're seeing kind of like cracks in the current, the current move, in the current momentum, but can it still have another move to the upside and everything still makes sense? Yes, absolutely, actually. Absolutely. 2-day RSI, same thing here as a daily. Short term, a little bit of downside. I would be looking for it to come back down towards 73. Long term, and extremely constructive. Really fucking love this read. Listen, if I have to call this right now, if you put a fucking gun to my head and said, Krown, call it right now, I do think Bitcoin's going to come down here. I actually do think Bitcoin's going to come down here, but I could be phenomenally wrong on that one. If if we get some sort of political situation going on, I'm keeping another eye over here. Oh, actually, Biden's extending his lead right now. That's very interesting. It looks like it's very strange here because I'm going over all of the swing states, and it seems like Trump's actually winning just about all of them, except for a couple of them, New Hampshire and Arizona, both of which are rather small in the electoral votes. This is just the weirdest time in humanity, or at least in my time ever, as far as like the world situation goes. Just so fucking strange. What about the 3-day? I believe that we close one tonight. Any sort of a closure, again, basically above 14,000, going to look good for continuation. But momentum oscillators here are still, I'm still a little bit skeptical on them. 3-day Stokes, yes, they are nice and erect right now. But as you can see, typically around this region in the critical zone, doesn't like to stay there for too long. So I do think that it's a cautionary time. I really do. For what it's worth, everything is actually showing more short-term bullish things. Yes. So what does that make me think? It does make me think that we'll get another try, probably back up to like 14.1, maybe even 14.2. But as long as there's no closures above that, I am really on the side of looking for a pullback from this region, to be honest with you. But hey, if those conditions are met, I'm happy to change my mind on that, and I probably won't make a trade until at the very least U.S. markets open, and we'll actually look at them pretty damn soon, and I see something just more obvious. I need to see something a little more obvious right now. The only obvious thing that we have right now is just the fact that trend and basically all time frames, currently speaking, are bullishly postured, but wouldn't take too much to actually reverse this down, at least for a medium-term time frame trade. And again, I'm not saying that like I'd be super bearish on this or anything. It's just I wouldn't mind any downside within this region right here. Anyways, going back on over, is there anything else to talk about on the 3-day? No, not really. Let's go check out the secondary charts right here too. Is there anything obvious here? There could be. Maybe this is going to help break the rubber. And what do you know? We do see that DMI plus is actually dominant right now, and ADX is strengthening. That does make me think, okay, but there's something that actually does start to make a little bit more sense. MACD also crossing up above, and this is happening simultaneously while we get our first closure above the topside trend band here too. Now I'm starting to kind of see the short-term upside once again, so fair enough. Let's go over to the 12-hour. I'm curious what this one shows here too. 12-hour is obviously bullish as it is. So here's how, after going after these charts, and keep in mind that I do these videos with a fresh look in the morning. I do not like practice these videos or anything like that. I want to make sure that they're as fresh as possible because I think that's realistic. And a lot of the time, you'll see me just not really have a strong opinion on things, and that's real. Sometimes there's just no trade to be made. In fact, more often than not, there's no trade to be made. I see this like disease with a lot of people who think you have to be in a trade at all hours of the day, at like every little fucking second, and the second that you like pull out of a trade, you need to get back in. That's silliness. I've never met a successful trader who does it like that. Even the high frequency guys, like they still wait for their shit. And like for in case you're not familiar with what high frequency trading is, it's like doing just incredible size, incredible quantities at incredibly low prices. Basically trading for like a fucking quarter of a cent, but doing it like a million times over, and that's how those guys make their profits. But still, they're waiting for very specific signals on their own end, and I've seen, I used to work right alongside one in my office. There was my desk, and then right around the other side there was a whole group of like 4 people, 2 coders and 2 traders doing high frequency trading, and some of the times they would just leave, just nothing doing for them. Then a lot of the times when business was booming, it was like really time to pay attention for them because things, that's how they were doing it essentially. Anyways, okay, so we spoke about the 12-hour for a second here. Let's go over to the daily as well. What does the daily say now? I mean, the daily's hard to hate. The daily's bullish. The daily's fucking bullish, man. So yeah, wrapping up my thoughts here. Everything is bullish right now. Yes, I would be very, and technically speaking, based off my, based off my trading style, I should be bullish here, and I should be looking for another move up to about 14.1, 14.2, which I actually do think is probably likely to happen here. The question is, how does Bitcoin respond around that region? If it does start to break it, well, extend those targets out to 14.7, 14.8, I believe it was. If Bitcoin starts to reject from there, still not a huge issue. It's 13.7 to 13.750 that I'd be concerned with. Below there, I can start to get short-term and maybe even medium-term bearish, at the very least for a move towards 13.3 and possible extension pushing to about 12.8, 12.9. Okay, and is there anything else on the secondary charts that I want to be checking out right now too? And daily MACD could very easily turn around here too, but I'd imagine that's going to require a closure below about 13.7 first. So again, all these pivots are matching up with each other. That's really all that we can see right now, or at least all that I can see based off my system right now. And what that likely tells me is we probably need another day's worth of price action to really get something really tangible for a juicy trade. One of those slightly bigger ones, like $500 plus, within this range, which is rather nice within Bitcoin land, as we are just ranging right now, and the range quite literally is almost about $1,000. So there you go. Anyways, or actually it's technically a little bit more than $1,000. Okay, what else do we want to talk about? Let's go over to traditional markets, because I think this is phenomenally more interesting right now. We were bullish on yesterday on traditional markets, looking for a move up to about 13,350 to 13,400. We got that move. We didn't just get that move, we really fucking exceeded that move right there. Not bad, but to be fair, on the daily closure, yes, did wake up to about 11,350-ish region. And what I'd be looking for on this one, I'd be looking for a little bit of short-term downside. I'll be looking for this one to come back down, test somewhere around 11,450, and then give another try to the upside. I do think that this is going to be at least a medium-term bottom right here, and another rally will probably be put in over time towards around $12,000. Like I said, the market loves certainty, and with the election results, no matter who wins, it will have one thing. We'll have something that's certain. We'll have certainty within this market, and then the real market can begin once again. But as it stands right now, in the the 2 weeks precipitating into the elections, I hate saying this way, but similar to what we said, the 2 weeks leading into the election is going to be sideways and down within the range. And in this case right here, that's exactly what we got. But here's the thing that really matters most. NASDAQ did put in a higher low and is rallying off that higher low right now. So how much more can this go? I mean, with momentum oscillators like daily Stokes just turning around to the north side and daily RSI just taking out the exponential alongside hidden bullish divergence, I do think that after a short-term pullback back down to about 11,450 or maybe 11,400 base, very likely to give another try to the upside, probably around maybe even 11,900 or $12,000. It does look good. For the very short-term time frames, like a 4-hour, what do we see here? Yeah, I think you're kind of getting that pullback right now. What about the hourly? Same thing. And I'd essentially be looking for that one to try some more upside here. So yes, looking good. What about SPY futures? What do we see here? Probably more or less the same. Yes, indeed. Maybe a short-term pullback back down to about 33.80 to maybe 33.60, somewhere around there. But overall, I probably would be looking for it to give another try to the upside. And what do we have here as well? We have a higher low. We have a higher low on the on this whole consolidation. So I'm very hesitant to get like super bearish on these things. I know people are like looking at Bitcoin and in traditional markets and saying that they're uncorrelated or that they've decoupled. They've not at all. They're both in major consolidations right now, coming off some major highs. And in fact, traditional markets, I mean, coming off of new all-time highs, obviously it's going to be a little more impressive than Bitcoin, consolidating about 50% lower, or sorry, not 50% lower, but I don't know, like what, 30 to 40% lower than its prior all-time high. It's not going to be related it's not going to be interpreted as relatively strong in comparison. But in this case right here, I just kind of want to show that for a lot of the people who are looking at these guys to trade up to each other, you're looking at too low of time frames. Should be looking at the daily, or the daily at the very least, but preferably the weekly and monthly, of which you can see quite literally both kind of doing the same thing right now and have been for a while. Anyways, going to the low term time frames here. Same chart as NASDAQ, basically. I don't really have anything new to say here that I didn't say on NASDAQ, but yeah, short term short term, a little bit of downside. We'll probably come back to this one and check it out on the Forex video as well, but I'll be looking forward to give another try to the upside overall. I do think that this is a nice low, and I imagine that we have a similar oscillated situation here as well. Yeah, pretty much the exact fucking same thing. Same thing on daily Stokes, daily RSI. This one's a lot more of an obvious chart than what we see on Bitcoin, in fact. And seeing as, I do interpret these things as on the long term correlated with each other, does that mean that Bitcoin, eventually gives another try to the upside? Probably yes. Probably yes. And by the way, historical volatility percentile is expanding from this region as well, as price action is, in the process of playing all these things out. I'd be looking for this one to trade higher. For this one, next sort of relevant area is going to be about 34.50-ish region, and then above that, obviously going to be a 35.30-ish region. But first things first, I'll be looking for that short-term pullback, and then probably another try towards about 34.50. What else do we have? Do we want to check out the big three? They're not even the big three, but they are three big ones. What about Microsoft? Same chart. I want to see this one on the open. Apple. Same fucking thing. Tesla. Tesla actually bounced back up. Wow. Am I going to be super fucking wrong on Tesla? I might be super fucking wrong on Tesla. I was looking for a move down to about 350, 360, but we didn't quite get there on that last try. And a reversal right off that level, it's starting to look pretty damn good. I also do want to show this here too. Obviously, I'm going to talk a lot more about this at length on the Forex video, but I do think that it's relevant right now too, especially since I feel like my analysis on Bitcoin is very unhelpful. But looking at Dixie right here, this is fucking phenomenal. This is your 3 drives reversal right here. This is looking good. While it probably does trade back down short term, maybe back down even all the way towards like 93.5. I'm looking for the reversal to happen like here. This is looking very, 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 very good. I'm still phenomenally bullish long term on Dixie, and I look at the 200 exponential moving average on the monthly as a long term bottoming area and marking off some sort of a ascending triangle as it does try to put in a higher low right here with targets up towards about 96, maybe 96.5 over the next couple months implied. And I'm basically bullish on this one as long as it's above about 92.5 and phenomenally bullish on this one, to be fair. So fair enough. Again, market loves certainty, and what's happening right now with the U.S. elections. Oh shit, they just got updated again. Looks like Biden's got 223 versus Trump's 145. So Trump actually just gained a couple more. Yeah, just won Iowa and Ohio apparently. Still haven't counted Texas or Pennsylvania in his favor, but he is. As far as these numbers go, he is clearly winning right there. It's very interesting. I wonder why there's such a discrepancy in reporting. Like why are they not counting that for him when they've already declared Biden the winner in Arizona and he's only got 75% reporting. He's winning by a small margin right there. Same thing in Florida though, but 96 are reporting and Trump's winning by about 3-4%. This is just the weirdest time, and this is just such a fucking weird time. Anyways, a lot less jokes today, but because I'm like actually concerned about what the fuck's happening. Craziness, man, fucking craziness. Anyways, okay, what else do we want to check out? Or are we done? I think that we might be even done right now. How long has this been? It's been about 31 minutes, perhaps a little bit too long. Let me see. Let's go check out some altcoins really quickly, and then we'll wrap this bitch up. Where's my buterals? Where's my buters? Let's see. Does this one show anything obvious here too? Yeah, short term probably looking for some upside. Well, or is it? Fucking god damn it, man. Why does this have to make it so difficult? Why does it? Oh, you know what I should be doing? The answer probably relies in CMEs. Oh, that's bullish. Oh, okay. Well, that just made things a lot easier. All right, I'm bullish. There you go. There you go. Why did I just look at this one in the first place? Yeah, ascending triangle at the top, grinded at the top side area multiple times while momentum offset is turned to the upside. This is what you're typically looking for in a breakout. So yeah, I kind of have to be bullish on Bitcoin short term, at the very least, to swipe the prior high at like 14,150 or 14,2, whatever it was. We start closing above there. I imagine that it's going to likely align with the measure move off this formation here as well. Let's do a bad measure move right now and see what it lines up with. I imagine if we account for the premium, what do you fucking know? 14.7 actually, and I'm doing this probably improperly to begin with. Yeah, something like that, and then something like that. Yeah, 14.8. There's about $100 premium on CME futures over spot price action. That puts that puts it about 14.7. Anywhere around there is about good enough for me. So technically speaking, yes, any sort of a closure above this region, which it's going to have a chance probably in this next tick within 1 hour and 37 minutes and 44 seconds. I would be looking for that next drive to the upside, and I would look at that as a breakout, to be fair. I'm curious if there's anything more obvious on the other time frames here. What about a 12-hour? Looking okay. 12-hour Stochs coming, actually just having a fresh cross the upside at the same time. Jesus. All right, so fair enough. CMEs, once again, reveal it, I believe. Yeah, daily Stochs looking like they're kind of floundering around a bit here too. What about the very low term time frames? What about like an hourly? Or let's fix that up. Still constructive as far as I see. So yeah, fair enough. Very interesting though, and thank God for CME kind of clearing that one up. Technically speaking, not confirmed breakout just yet, but it does look it does have a lot of the etchings of what you would look for in a confirmed breakout. It's gonna have a chance on this next one. By the time that I post this video, about an hour afterwards, should have clarity on that situation. So I think now is the time to actually just wrap this whole thing up. I guess we'll go back on well, should we wrap it up on CMEs or should we wrap it up on spot price action? I think CMEs are our obvious chart right here. But on spot price action, if you're looking for spot price numbers, I guess I'm short-term bullish as long as Bitcoin's above 11, I keep on doing that, 13.7 or even 13.750 on a 4-hour delta closure. As long as long as above there, yes, at least another swipe to the upside at about 14.150ish region. Any sort of a 2-hour or 4-hour delta closure above there on spot price action, I start to target moves towards about 14.7, 14.8 region, whatever it was, in line with the extension, in line with also the measure move that we saw just here on CMEs, and I imagine that probably lines up with something historically speaking as well. Yes, indeed it does. Yes, indeed it does. Lines up exactly with this breakdown coming in all the way here. Oh, this is beautiful, actually. This is very, 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 very lovely. This is very lovely right here, which we'll just mark off like that. And what do you know? There you go. Okay, so now we got multiple things lining up with each other: historical levels plus formations plus fib extensions, and yes, I would be looking for this move to happen if you get this next 4-hour delta closure basically above pretty much where we are right now, 14,030. If that does happen, then yes, I start to look for that next move to the upside and probably a greater pullback from the upper 14,000s. And then of course, if Bitcoin does in the interim close anywhere below 13,750, then I would be looking for a short-term move back down to about 13,350 and another small bounce there, plus likely continuation implied down towards about 12.8, 12.9, which I imagine is likely in line with the daily 21. Yes, indeed it is by about now. So fair enough. So with that said, I want to wish you the best. This is a very crazy time. I also want to once again just say, at the end of the day, we're all humans here. So no matter who wins, we're all on the same fucking team at the end of the day, so perhaps something to reflect upon. And with that said, take care, and until next time.